Okay, guys, welcome to our April training. This is also being recorded, so you can always come back to this. This is going to be a good topic it's going to incorporate prospecting, type of mindset you need to have, type of activities you need to do to be able to, hit those marks, make those changes, get that GCI really up, and so we can cap as agents and do it multiple times as well. So we are going to get started. I always like to start a little bit with what's in the news. Now, from when I created this on, I believe, Tuesday, like a lot has changed from Tuesday till today. I'm sure you guys heard the announcement, Justin Trudeau potentially banning foreign buyers from purchasing properties in Canada for the next 2 years, which is also very reminiscent for me of 2017 when Kathleen Wynne, brought in a foreign buyer tax, and we saw what the effect on the market was, for a period of 12 to 16 months right after that. So not to say that anything is going to be drastic, but I'm just saying get yourselves ready, get your clients ready, get your emotions ready, and just get better with planning. Now, from last month to this month, the market has shifted. As I was saying, even though I said a little bit as a joke, to Folu earlier, like this market in some pockets has become a balanced, even towards maybe even a buyer's market in some pockets of the GTA across some products. So this is an article that I got from RBC. What we've seen with rates increasing last month, potential rate hike happening next week, more rate hikes happening down the road, inflation, still being a problem for the government of Canada, and they want to manage that, and the way to manage it is through interest rates. It's almost unfair because our industry always seems to get attacked at any single time. There's unbalance or instability in the markets. Like, why don't they go after the stock market in this way, the bond market in this way, or other markets? But real estate is that scapegoat, and unfortunately for us, what it does is it creates a lot of confusion in the market, a lot of doubt, and confused people essentially do nothing. So pay attention over the next couple of weeks in terms of what's going on in the media, what's going on in the news, because things are shifting a little bit. Even though rates are higher, there's a lot of supply, but there is some great opportunities for buyers who have been sitting on the sideline. I mean, it doesn't really help them much because rates have increased quite a bit already. So whatever discounts they're going to get on price, they're going to make it back up on their monthly payments. Any questions or comments? Anybody wants to chime in, feel free to interrupt. So that's in the news part. So more so than ever, because of an environment in a market like this, it's really important to understand why being a cap agent is really important. It's not just important because, it's a number that we just thought would be cool and creative to just kind of throw it out there. Like, it doesn't really, it helps the brokerage, yes, but more so, as times shift, as markets shift, we need to improve our skills and improve on what our standard is, as professionals. So being a cap agent is not, to me, it's a standard of what you should be looking to do for yourselves, for your families, and for your futures as well. And I'm sure some of you here, some of you here are looking to get into the market the next few years. So the more income you can produce, the better opportunity that you have to be able to set yourselves up for the future. And the cool thing is, if you did 10 deals last year and you did only the same amount of deals this year, you did 10 deals this year, technically you probably got about a 15 to 20% raise doing the same amount of activity as you did last year, because the market has increased 15 to 20%. So if you just did the same activity last year as this year, you're going to by default just get a raise. Most industries don't operate like that. So, take advantage of the opportunity. because right now is a very pivotal time in real estate, and it's a very pivotal time for buyers, because I believe the next 3 to 6 months buyers will have a great opportunity, and then after that, you know, we'll see what happens. I don't want to make any predictions. So what do I mean when I say a cap agent? Now, I don't mean this cap, this agent. So a lot of people associate, lifestyles and everything else with being a cap agent. But more so, I'm just talking about activity, production, trophies, awards, who are the top sales individuals, who are the top new sales individuals, who's able to do $10+ million in business. You get yourselves in this spot for recognition, not just for the recognition of itself on its own, but also in a sense of, you're setting yourself up to be able to win, in the future by, being able to take advantage of this opportunity. I mean, a lot of you guys here have been realtors for at least a couple of years. Most of us didn't have to go through the Humber College program. God forbid if I had to go and sit down in a classroom for a couple of years. So everything is becoming harder and harder with this industry. The education of it, buying, servicing, supply, everything is becoming more and more challenging, and the challenges are all going to continue. So you need to be able to keep up with that pace to be able to make everything really meaningful for you. So just by definition, a cap agent is someone who's producing, earning at least 150,000 plus in GCI. At this mark, what I will recommend is everybody incorporate, your PRECs, your professional real estate corporations, just because they'll give you more flexibility and more opportunities in terms of different things you want to do. Myself personally, I put my wife on payroll, which is great because now I can put expenses. I can run some expenses through her. She helps me out a lot in my different sets of businesses as well. So, being incorporated allows you to position yourself, position your families as well, to be able to, really maximize on the income that you're producing. So we're not going to go too much into that. Consult with an accountant. An accountant will be able to kind of break all this down for you a little bit further if you want. I'm glad someone liked my cap agent joke. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. Now, the number one thing and the top thing that I always notice from, every individual, and also what I would challenge everyone is, not just becoming a cap agent, but how many times could you do it in a calendar year? You should be, once you kind of get yourself in a groove, you could potentially do this once, 2, 3, 4 times in a year. So, I mean, we know Benson, congratulations, Benson. We know Benson did it Q1 already, was able to accomplish it. We have someone else who's going to do it by the end of this month as well. So there are people on pace to do this 2 to 3 times. So what I'm saying is not very difficult to do, because people are lapping and doing this 2 to 3 times as well. Number one thing that I always notice is, when it comes to attitude, even in a market like this, a market that's very, very challenging, always changing, cap agents, you have to be a problem solver for your clients, because a lot of times your clients are going to come, especially with the news that I just gave earlier on, with the foreign buyer tax, and if people remember 2017 and what happened with the market then, and the market went down for about a year and a half, you're going to have individuals want to opt to sit out on the sideline and kind of wait to see what unfolds. But if you think about periods such as 2008, 2017, for those of you guys that might remember those periods, those were some of the prime opportunities to be buyers. If you think about even Dreammaker around 2008 to 2010, a lot of you went around in those times. Those are when we really capitalized on our opportunities. I mean, we put hundreds of buyers into, condos in King West, Queen West, Long Branch, Mimico. We put in service probably thousands of clients in those periods, simply because the market was very uncertain. Market was very unsure. Builders had to now, put better options, better terms, better pricing available for, for to be able to attract people. This is the kind of market and kind of environment that is actually um, is very rewarding for people that have confidence and skill and that have been doing the legwork and prepping their clients. So always having that half full mentality. Is this market hard? Yes, this market is hard, but it's not impossible. That's how I answer all questions with buyers. Is can I save my way there? No, you can't save your way there, but there's another way for you to get into the market. Where do you currently live? With your parents, with your boyfriend, with your girlfriend? Do they have equity? Do they have real estate? Do they have leverage? When my wife and I started dating, I leveraged her credit to be able to set myself up in certain areas because I couldn't take advantage of it at that time, but I knew that I could leverage her. So very, very early, if you have a partner, you need to start seeing how you guys can leverage each other's profiles to be able to get more and do a little bit more. Personal accountability. Yeah, nobody here, I don't call Folu to say, hey, Folu, how many phone calls did you make today? Hey, Folu, how many emails did you send today? How many people did you have a conversation about buying, selling, leasing, or investing? So this business is a business and you have to treat it like a business, right? Number one thing that I always like to ask individuals when they're complaining is, would you hire you? Like if you were listing your house, would you hire you to list your own house? Are you the type of professional that shows up for people to be able to be confident in you? And if you're not even confident in yourself, for yourself to hire yourself as your own agent, why would the market have any confidence in you? So making sure that, you don't treat this opportunity as most of us came from jobs before we transitioned into being realtors. So we kind of get lost in sometimes, the dynamic of being an employee and a business owner. The bottom line is businesses make money. Hobbies cost money, so you want to treat this as a business, and it really starts with the attitude. How to improve on your attitude. The simple thing is the rule of five. The rule of five simply states that you are the average of the 5 people you hang around with the most. So maybe doing an internal audit. If you look at the average income, the average beliefs, the average, if you just took what do you call it? If you just took a common denominator amongst your common 5 people that you hang around with the most, you'll see you guys are very similar in many ways besides just finances, right? So you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around with, that you are consistently listening to and conversing with. So what you need to do to improve on that is to improve on that average. If I'm Isaac and I used to hang around quite a bit, but I think he realized that I bring down his average. So, so he let me go and he incorporated someone else and new people to improve his average. Now that's not for me to get offended by. What that means for me is I need to improve in terms of my quality so I can be around that circle a little bit more. Does that make sense? So it's not just, I'm not saying for you guys to leave your friends, your top 5 individuals that you're hanging around with. I'm saying you need to add sharper people into that pool to be able to increase what your average is. In scripture, it says iron sharpens iron. So this, what I'm saying is not a new, it's not a new phenomenon. It's not something that no one's ever heard before, but this is really just, it's a good reminder. What I always like to also do is, when I wake up every day, no matter how hard the day is, I try to find a few things that I'm grateful for. Because when you start off your day with gratefulness, it keeps you open. If I wake up in a morning like this and I'm like, man, Justin Trudeau just dropped a bomb, this market's gonna suck, spring is gonna be terrible. It doesn't matter what else gets taught, what I learn, what new information I collect, because my attitude is already poor to begin with, which is going to lead to a poor belief, poor behavior, poor habits, and eventually poor results. So I find gratefulness is a great place to start from. 2 to 5 things a day, up to 10. Sometimes I'll stretch it up to 10 things a day. I'll journal. I like journaling just so I can just kind of reflect back on what my attitude. I mean, I've been journaling for almost 8 years. So once in a while, I'll pull up, let's see what my attitude was 3 years ago. And I look at it and I look at what my belief was, what my expectations were. And I'm like, oh, wow, I can see and I can measure growth time over time. Obviously, being involved in trainings such as this, continuing your personal professional developments. I know Trev and Aria have professional developments that they put together that helps you build skills, which obviously helps you build your confidence, to sharpen your attitude, and to improve your behavior, improve your habits, and improve your results. So it's a circle that goes around. You can't shortcut and add one on and leave the other one out. Some of you guys here are avid readers, which is great, because you want to keep improving on your skills, your communication skills, your negotiation skills, and just add value to yourself, because that's going to help you add value to other people as well. Now, so what you'll find is I'm not going to talk a lot about what you need to do, because everybody has their own creative everybody has their own creative ways to kind of go out and to be able to engage. You have your associations that you guys are a part of. So in terms of associations, what I personally like to do, I don't like to join, like I won't go to like a real estate club, because it's just going to be like pure realtors there. To me, that doesn't make sense, because I'm going out to network, to find and to shop for clients. So one thing that I learned very early in my career was be a part of associations that improve, that promote your lifestyle. So if you're somebody who's into working out, guess what? The gym has a lot of people. When you're there and you're seeing people, and usually most people that go to the gym have a fixed schedule. They go 11 a.m. every day, 2 p.m. every single day. What's a good strategy to do is, if you're a part of, like, let's say an LA Fitness, I would go to every single LA Fitness within like 20 minutes from me. So that way I get to meet, network, associate with different individuals, and you're always building relationships. This business is a relationship building business first and foremost. It is what you're selling real estate, but the business itself, it's relationship building. So the more you can improve in those skills, improving your attitude, find different places and different ways to take advantage of your creativity, is going to help you continuously build your pipeline. So a lot of today is going to be really focused on mindset and training, because I find that's the most important thing above everything else. Always remember that when you're talking to clients, facts tell, stories sell. So I always relate this to, when I think of my first sell, I did my first sell a week before I was officially a realtor. So my cousin had called me maybe 6 months earlier, said she was looking to buy a condo, and whether I was a realtor or not, she was going to proceed without me. So I was very, very motivated to make sure that my license was done, everything was set up. So when I went to the sales center with her, I mean, I know you guys can't see these prices, but these 2+ dens are like 490,000 at Bathurst and Front Street. So those prices have doubled, almost even tripled, in a span of about 6 years or so. So when she had called me and told me that, I was very motivated to get licensed. I got licensed literally maybe the weekend before we went to the sales center. We signed the documents. And then Marco, who was a sales rep for Minto, told me that because my RICO wasn't in at the time, that I wouldn't be able to get paid on the transaction. But I remember that there was a 10-day cool-off period. And because of that 10-day cool-off period, so I used that and I said, hey, Marco, I will get my RICO done within those 10 days before this deal firms up, so I can still get paid on it. So he said, well, if you can get it done in 10 days, we'll make sure that we take care of you, and we'll make sure that you get paid on it. So literally like 2 days before the contract had firmed up, my RICO license number came in, and then literally my first deal was done. It was signed a week before, but it firmed up 10 days after. So those types of stories are stories that I always like to tell, because people remember those more than the details of everything else that I have set. People, people remember those journeys. I remember when I first met Benson. I met Benson in, I believe, I forgot what course it was. We were doing a course together, and I met Benson, started talking to him. Actually, sorry, he approached me and we started having a conversation. And then he told me a little bit about his story. He was from Nigeria. He had only been in Canada for, I think, about 4 years or so. He was doing okay at the brokerage he was in. I believe he was part of Century 21 at the time. But he had seen some of my content online on social media, so he had recognized me in the class, and he was looking to make a transition. So I told him a little bit about the advantages of being a dream maker, being able to not only do resell, having access to pre-constructions, having access to builders, building our own products, yada, yada, yada. And then in a short period of time, not only was he the top sales rep last year within Dreammaker, but he's on pace to be the top sales rep and maybe break all of Dreammaker's record in the last 15 years of income made. So, and this is someone that came here 5 years ago in the country, no contact list, really knew nobody. And he built his whole business from his church. That's where he got himself started, built referrals, and then built his way, from there. That's a story that, that I remember more so than the details about his business. People call me a lot to say, what does Benson do? What does Ben? And I think it's a wrong focus. It's not really what he's doing. It's why he's doing what he's doing. So why you're doing what you're doing is important, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. So even in this period, I remember, being so excited. Doing your first deal. I think the commission was something like 40,000, 20,000 up front, 20,000 at the end. So I'm looking at, okay, I made 40,000 my first week as a realtor, and then my next 30 days, I think I made about another 45,000, and I'm like, oh my, this is easy. I'm going to be like the top real estate agent in Canada in no time. But then I got humbled the next year. And the reason I got humbled the next year is because it's easy. It's very easy in this business and in this field to have a good season, but it's very hard to have a good career. Anybody can make 100,000 this month in real estate. It's not hard to do. I know there's people here that have done that or come close. It's not a hard thing to do, but just because you do it that one time, maybe even if you do it 2 times, it's hard to see, will you have a good career in this? No one here has done real estate for 10 years. If you think about all our parents and how many decades they spend in their careers, they spend 20, 30, 40 years. So also this is to say, don't measure yourself and beat yourself up by your numbers so much. If you've been doing this part-time for 6 months, you've been doing this for 1 year, you've been doing this for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, even 5 years, 5 years is a good time in terms of, measuring yourself, but it's not only about time. There's an old saying, it's not, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So if you've been doing something for 5 years, it doesn't really mean you've done it 5 years. You might have done it 1 year 5 times over. You might have just done the same thing 1 year 5 times over, but you haven't improved in any area. You haven't added new skills, done different things in your business, or stretch yourself to kind of get creative and find different ways for you to be able to improve on what you're doing. So keep in mind of how, you're in this to build a good career, not just to have one good month, one good quarter, one good year. Like to me, that doesn't mean anything. And for the long term, it's not going to mean much for you either. This is an interesting article. Anybody heard of the Conservatory Group development company? So Conservatory Group, 4 brothers. They were left an empire by their dad who passed away. So the Lipfields brothers. So there's an ongoing case right now. Lipfield versus Lipfield versus Lipfield versus Lipfield. So they're all in lawsuits with each other. Now I remember going through the article in the Globe and Mail, and it was a long article, but it was crazy to see how, family could be given an empire worth billions of dollars, and then they destroy it over 5 years, like literally over 5 years. One of the brothers, he was told, they gave him, I think, like a $2 million bonus, and they gave him an allowance of $250,000 a year. And then he turned around in the article and he said, "How am I supposed to live on $250,000?" And this is what he's telling his lawyer to tell the judge. He says, with bills, with cost of living, housing expenses, how am I supposed to eat on that? And I remember reading that article, and you might feel two ways about it. You might be like, "Oh, this guy's a selfish son of a bitch. Like, well, you can't live on $250,000, $20,000 a month. Like, what's he talking about?" But the other perception is, you know what? With interest rates, with prices, with wars, with inflation, with gas prices, with food prices, child costs, is $250,000 enough for you and your family? I don't know. That's for you to answer. We have this training is to teach you how to make $150,000 per year. There's people making $250,000 with $2 million in savings, and they're saying it's not enough to live on. Right? So the perspective needs to change. Maybe your goals need to change. One thing I don't recommend anybody doing, but which something I did when I was younger, to motivate myself, I'll get a car that I could barely afford, and then but it would force me to get in a mode and to get uncomfortable and to get on a grind to be able to make sure that I produce the next week, the next month. I don't know what that fire underneath you that needs to be lit is, but it's easy to get comfortable. I find a lot of people build their lifestyles around their income versus setting a goal and a lifestyle first, and then finding ways to make income to match what that goal is. So don't look at your lifestyle, then set your goals, but set your goals and then build your lifestyle to match your goals. That's the right attitude of how to approach things and how to, get yourself closer to the season. Get you to that mark where you can start. Because I believe at 150 option, you start to have options. If you want to stay in Toronto, at least, you start to have options at around 150 in terms of the type of lifestyle that you can have. So I spoke a little bit about goals. What's your reason why? So that's another way to break down your goals. What's your reason why? And your reason why, the simplest way that I understand it is, and anybody here on this, and I think there's a button where you can raise your hand. If I offered anybody here $10 million, and I say, hey, you know what? You got to go on top of Yorkdale's building, and you have to go and retrieve my cell phone for me. I left it up there. The building's on fire. How many of you guys will go up there for $10 million? Building's on fire, it's burning. My cell phone's at the top of the roof. Okay, we got one person. Jordan's motivated so much that he would die for it. I love that. Okay, right? Now, but what if I said, okay, you know what? A loved one is on there. Your mom's on there, the building's on fire. Your dad's on there. Your sister's on there. Your daughter's on there. How many of you are going on that building regardless of the money to try to save them? Of course, 100%. Now, what's changed? Did the event change? No, the event didn't change. Your response changed, right? Your response is what changed. So having a reason why is going to help you set goals. Journaling, I've already spoke on as well. And another thing that I would greatly encourage everyone to do, and I mentioned it already, is have a measurable timeline. It's everybody looks at what they can do in 1 year. Not enough people look at what they can do in 5. So a lot of people, will say, hey, my first year in real estate, here's what I want to do. I want to make 100,000, 150,000, 300,000, 500,000, whatever that mark is. But no one measures or sets goals in terms of what they can do in 5. And it's easy to get discouraged when you have that 1 year target and you don't hit that 1 year target. But when you measure your goals over 5 years, you have a greater depth of perception of things. Ask good questions. I get a lot of individuals that when I'm working with clients, I make sure clients don't come up to me and say, how's the market? Like I hate that question so much. How's the market? Because I don't even know where to even start. A better question and a better way to ask questions, even for ourselves as well, is, what's going on in the market right now I should be paying attention to. There's a few things happening in the market right now that you should be paying attention to. And that's going to help you also put together and formulate what kind of goals you should be setting. We're in a buyer's market right now for maybe 3 to 6 months. A buyer's maybe a balanced market for the next 3 to 6 months across certain products, not across the entire board. But I'm feeling it in the market when I'm going out. I'm seeing a lot of price changes. I'm seeing listings on the market that are, that have been on the market for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month. I have a search category for myself that of products that I'm looking for personally. And typically, every week when I look at that search category, there's maybe 150 products that are available on the market. Over the last month, there's been at least 1,000 available on the market. So there's a lot of supply on the market right now because everybody's on panic mode. Interest rates are going up. The market might correct. There's a new foreign buyer tax federal policy coming into place today that Justin Trudeau is going to get on the news and he's going to discuss. So don't be so reactionary. Teach your clients to ask good questions, and it'll start with you learning how to ask good questions as well. Personal development. Personal development really is a way to track and to measure what you're doing. That's my definition of personal development. The law of averages says if you do something long enough, a ratio will appear. So if you are, so the example that I like to use is baseball players. The best baseball players in the world, they hit at a 30% batting average. That's the best of the world. So the top 1% of the top 1% in baseball hit 30%, which means they strike out 7 times out of 10. So if you have a ratio of 3 out of 10 people that you talk to are buying real estate, is that a good ratio? 3 out of 10 people that you talk to buying real estate, that's a fantastic ratio. Anybody will take that ratio. Even 1 out of 10, right? Most people would take that ratio. If you knew that you're going to make $15,000, $20,000 by talking to 10 people only, asking them if they're interested in being ready, if they're ready to buy, sell, invest, rent, and you knew that a transaction was going to happen, why wouldn't you talk to as many people and probe them as well, get them ready? The thing about real estate is our sales life cycle is 3 to 6 months. So what that means is if you're talking to somebody today about real estate, they're probably not ready to transact with you for at least 3 to 6 months. But most people say that's correct. If you just started talking to someone, because they have to, it's April, hopefully they've done their taxes, they're waiting for their Q1 bonuses, right, to come in. They have to plan, they have to save, they have to pay off some debt, to pay off some expenses. They got to sit down with a mortgage agent, make sure that they're pre-approved. They might be a little bit short, so they got to find a guarantor. Got to make sure that guarantor is ready. Maybe their mom and dad need to refinance to be able to give them some equity so that they can make a payment. That stuff takes time. So I'm able to gauge what my Q2, Q3, and Q4 income is because I'm always tracking and I'm always measuring, what's my activity this month. My activity in April is going to show up most likely in late August and late September. I'm not worried about trying to get somebody to buy real estate right now because realistically it's not going to happen. But what I'm always measuring is how many conversations am I having every single day? How many people am I reaching out to on social media, connecting with individuals on social media, creating a prospect list. Do you guys all use the prospect list on MLS? You guys know what I'm talking about, the prospect list? Or no? Everybody knows what I'm talking about? Okay, hold on, give me a second. I go to my listings, search. Prospect searches. So this is my prospect list. So these are the people that I know are within 90 days going to buy some form of real estate. So these individuals, they're getting listings every single day, looking at prices all the time, looking at what's new, what's changing. So these are the individuals on my list that are in the next 90 days. I know that they're ready to do something, right? So this is on the prospect search. Have this list. This list of mine was a lot longer a month ago, but because we've closed deals, that list, whenever this list is less than 5, I start to get anxiety, because that means I know that I'm probably not going to make a lot of money in the next 90 days and so forth if this is very small. So this prospect list, this should be your gold mine right here. That's where you should be going into. That's where you should be going into every single day and seeing who can I add on this list that needs to be, that that I need to get them started to thinking about selling, buying, listing, and investing. Think Amazon. Amazon was a non-profitable company for 14 years. Their first 14 years, 0 profits. Today, the largest company in the world. 14 years. Again, that's the difference in having a seasoned mindset and a career mindset, right? And a legacy mindset, which is the movement that, which is pretty much the world that Amazon is in right now. Now, I mentioned something earlier on, E plus R equals O. This is my favorite thing to always remind myself to kind of just get my attitude in check. E is events, R is response, O is outcome. So let's say the outcome that you want, because we always start with the goals first, not with the problems, right? We start with the goals first. So the outcome that you want is a 10. If the event is a -2, what does your response need to be? Your response needs to be a 12, right? So even though the event is a negative event, you can have a much greater response to get the outcome that you want. Now, sometimes we get lucky. Like my first real estate deal, the event was a 9, right? My cousin called me and said, I'm ready to buy real estate. You just need to show up and sign the paperwork. My response didn't have to be, I just needed to show up, and I wasn't even licensed, right? So my response was a 1, but the outcome was a 10. So sometimes your events could be really great. Sometimes the events might be 0. So it might mean that, especially in the beginning of your business, you're not getting a lot of referrals. You're not getting a lot of people to talk about you. You don't know, people don't walk up to you and they know who you are in this real estate space as the commercial real estate expert, as the residential expert, and so forth. So you have to develop, like in the beginning of your business, in the seasons of your business, your response is all you. It actually has to be even more. If you want a 10, your response needs to be more than 10, because there's so many things against you. Inflation is against you. That's a negative response. Interest rates are against you. That's a negative response. Mindset is against you. That's a negative response. We're still in COVID. We still forget that we're still in the middle of a pandemic. That's another negative response, right? You might have challenges. You might work full time. That's another event that is affecting the response that you need to produce. So your response needs to always be strong. I live on offense. I've taken the last 5 days off, and it made me a little bit anxious to be like, oh my goodness, like there's events happening and I'm not responding because I've taken 5 days off. And now I'm like, okay, I'm not waiting for the events to show up. I know the government is going to do something to mess up real estate. Like I knew that before this announcement came, and guess what? They're going to continue to do it for the next 10 years. They're going to continue to do it for the next 10 years because they've done it. They've had at least 15 different changes in the real estate industry since I started 6 years ago.
Hey, Mike. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
The exclusion of foreign buyers, is that something that they want to pass through the House, or something that they've already done and they're going to implement?
We will find out very shortly. Mr.
Okay.
Speaking on it, but
All right.
my news feed was going crazy. I got about 8 different people send me messages to try to get me to comment. I just haven't commented yet because I haven't spent enough time yet to study what that means. So what if we have a goal to make $150,000? That's this training. What if your goal is $1 million? How would you hit that? Well, what you'll need to do is, using a $1 million example, you'll have to learn Millionaire Math. Millionaire Math simply says, how do I make $1 million? I sell a $200 product to 5,000 people, $500 product, 2,000 people, $1,000 product to 1,000 people, $4,000 product to 250 people. Or, maybe you have something that's a monthly subscription. 5,000 people pay $17 a month. So for myself, for example, I manage properties for investors and for just like busy individuals. I don't charge less than $150 a month. So if I needed to make $1 million through that model, I need to have 500 people under my property management corp, and then that's my path to $1 million in that way. If I'm selling real estate today, we know the average real estate costs what? Let's call it $1 million. Let's call it $1 million, right? Assuming all commissions are 2.5%. How many $500,000 houses do you need to sell to make $1 million? Anybody know? No one's done. You guys haven't been doing Millionaire Math. So if we just take a calculator, 500,000, right, times 0.025 is 12,500. So $1 million divided by 12,500. You have to sell 80 houses. Is it possible to sell 80 homes at $500,000 in one calendar year? Is it possible? Right? Of course it's possible. People do that every single year that you've never heard of. Of course it's possible. But the average cost of a home is not $500,000. It's $1.3 million. So how many $1 million houses do you need to sell in 1 year to make $1 million? Just half of this, right? So 40 homes. It's possible to sell 40 homes in one calendar year at $1 million. Of course it's possible. Now, for those people that have been in real estate for quite a bit, can they buy in the GTA, a double garage detached home, 50 by 150 lot, still needs a little bit of work for less than $2 million. So these figures are not made up figures. These are real market stats of products that we have available for sale. We have condos for 500,000, townhouses for $1 million, detached homes with double garages starting at $2 million. Can you sell 20 of these in a calendar year to make $1 million? Right. So why are we talking about $150,000? Right. Now that your mind is now open to, oh my goodness, I just got to do 20 of this, 40 of this to make $1 million. And even if you don't hit that target and you do 5%, 10% of that target, are you going to cap as an agent? Of course, right? But we have a vehicle that allows you to do so much more. I mean, the other way is to go around to, we're not selling to 5,000 people, 250 people. We're selling to, if I go to everybody's cell phone right now, everybody here knows 20 to 100 people that already owns a home. So you don't even have to even go far to find these people. You don't have to go cold market, door knocking to find these people. Everybody here knows 20 to 100 people that already own a home that you can just simply educate, position, educate them on the market, educate them on your company, Dreammaker, what makes Dreammaker different, type of services and offerings that we have, and then educate them on why they need to work with you. Those are the three things that you need to always educate people on: the market, the company, and yourself. With those three things, it's how could you not make $1 million? The reality is everybody here is going to make $1 million, right? If you earn $50,000 a year in income, you will eventually earn $1 million. It'll take you 20 years to do it. So how do you compress time, right? How do you compress time to get that, Do you want to make it over 20 years, or do you want to learn how to make it over 10, over 5, over 3, over 2, maybe in 1 for, a select few that will get there, right? As markets increases, our pays also increase. Our pays, we don't have to go to our employer and say, can I get a raise for 2.5% this year to match inflation? The market automatically gives you a raise if you just do the same amount of activity as you did the year before. So what's the bottom line, and what does this all come down to? I mean, it's having the right mindset is the start, but then you got to take action, right? You have to be, I do, like I said, I took 5 days off, and I was just like almost sick, because I know on offense is where results happen. Making phone calls. I do something called email time travel, which is I go back 30 days and I go back through my emails over the last 30 days, and I usually find one person that I forgot to get back to. When I go in my DMs on Instagram, I go back 2 months, I usually find, somebody that I reached out about something that I forgot to connect with and I forgot to reach out to. So go back in your emails and you'll find that there's gems there. MLS prospect search, I just went over that. The importance of following up with individuals. I had, and this was a good reminder, there's somebody that's trying to sell my wife and I RESPs, which is our registered education plan for kids. And I have a lot of people trying to sell me those products. People at the bank, people at different financial institutions, everybody trying to sell me, these RESP products, being a new dad. Man, I had this one guy, he must have called me at least 10 times in like a span of 2 weeks. 10 times in a span of 2 weeks. Like, he just made me just surrender. I just said, you know what? I'm going to give you 30 minutes yesterday, 30 minutes. That's all I can do. Give me this. Cause like, I kind of figured I already know this stuff. A lot of people are trying to pitch it to me, but he got me down. He buckled me down. We spent an hour. So I said, I can only do 30 minutes. And I gave him an hour, right? Does that sound familiar? Clients say one thing, but do another thing. I want to do this, and then they do the complete opposite. So what people say is not really important. You need to be a professional to continuously follow up. But this guy sat down with me. I told him, man, this is such a good plan. No one else has explained this to me, but no one else followed up enough or cared enough to follow up with me that much to get my business. But he did, and he's going to get my business, right? So following up, the fortune is in the follow-up. Thank you cards, thank you gifts for your clients, and gifts that they can post about. So gift baskets are kind of cool, but they're also not like, no one's going on Instagram and being like, look at the gift basket for my agent. You know what I mean? Like, if you're getting your client like a what do you call it, like a spa day, something exclusive, something really to them with some thought, like, they will post and share that, online. So keep in mind the type of creative things and gifts that you give to your clients, because you want them to share those stories with people in their network and share. They might not be able to share the story, but they can at least share the gifts, Raptors tickets, MLS tickets, whatever it is. When in conversations with individuals, I always like to make sure that I'm figuring out what their motivation is and who the decision makers are. So I'm asking a lot of questions that the acronym I use is FORM, family, occupation, recreation, and motivation. So I'm always having these conversations with individuals all the time, to find out more about their family. If they're expecting a child, their first child, their second child, their third child, there's a good chance they're probably going to need to make a move, right? If a family member just retired, and has no income, or maybe he's ill, there's a good chance they're probably going to need a bigger place with an income with an income suite. All these things kind of allows me to collect information about them. If their credit is not good, but they have capital, they might need to do a joint venture with somebody, a parent, maybe buy a pre-construction that'll be ready in 3 years. So that way their credits can repair, and then that way they can have an opportunity to partner up with someone, secure a price today, and it'll be ready in 3 to 4 years. All right. So action and activity is the most important thing. So if you think of an analogy of, like, let's say whatever our target is and our goal is, what we're looking to do is we're looking to chop down a tree. So let's say you're going to chop down a tree. What do you need? You need tools. You have an axe to go chop down a tree. Now, you need to also make sure that not only do you have an axe, but you want to make sure that your axe is also sharpened, because the sharper your axe is, the easier it is to be able to do the activity to chop down a tree, right? So the things that I'm talking about and I've been talking about so far hasn't been the activity of swinging and chopping down trees. It's been mainly the activity of sharpening your axe. What do you need to do to sharpen your axe today, right? What do you need to improve on? What kind of language, communication, like how do you show up professionally? You know, what kind of attitude do you have when stuff is not going your way, or you're in a funk and you're in a bad season? This discussion today is predominantly around sharpening your axe, but you need to do both. You need to both take action and make sure that your axe is sharp to be able to swing when you're ready. Social media activity, very, very important now, more than ever. Making sure that you have some kind of presence online. And I'm preaching almost hypocritically because I'm terrible. I feel like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like a 3. I could be so much better with social media, but I don't care enough yet. So I do like the minimum, but I know for sure that's an area where my axe needs to sharpen for sure, because I'm leaving money on the table. I'm leaving opportunities on the table. I need to be online more. If you look at Benson, he's online all the time. He's doing videos, he's sharing and so forth. If you just copy the rule of 5, we take, 5 cap agents within the organization and see what's their social media activity like, what's their day-to-day activity like. You'll see there's a common denominator in terms of what these individuals are doing on a day-to-day basis. It's very important that, if you know a lot of people, as I mentioned today, how many of you guys know people that know 20? How many of you know 20 to 100 people who own a home? Most people here do. But how many of those people know that you're even a real estate agent? How many people even know that you can even support them in their need if there's a need for them to sell or to buy? You can't be a secret agent with this. Even if you do have a full-time job, I understand, or maybe you don't want to confuse your audience. I completely get all that. But at some point, you need to kind of make a decision as to what is it you want? What's your reason why you're doing this? What are you looking to accomplish? Is being a cap agent really what you like? That your biggest goal of 2022? And if that is, that's great. That's a great place to start. Or maybe you want to be able to do 100% more than what you did last year, maybe 50% more than what you did last year. How do you do that? Because the market, I already mentioned, is going to give you an automatic 20% because prices rise 15 to 20% every single year. So what are you doing to meet those goals? Have you set those goals, right? Have you tested those goals? Those are all things that you all should be looking into. So what's the challenge that I want to put out? So we just entered Q2 7 days ago. So what I want to challenge everyone is not to look at your Q2 results. And we'll start really, let's just say, what, everybody's starting from a clean slate. Like I don't care if you've already capped already, right? Let's start from April 7th. Let's play a little game. Let's look at the next 90 days. How much activity are you going to take? How much activity are you going to take? How many people are you going to talk to? Conversations, prospect list. What kind of social media activity do you need to do to kind of help you get there? Because 90 days could drastically change anything. You can make any drastic change in your life in 90 days. If you wanted to reshape your body, could you do it with 90 days of intense focus and discipline? Is it possible? Of course, right? 90 days of intense discipline, focus, activity, diet, you can drastically transform your body. Now, in that time period, the challenge for a lot of people is, they always want to find this kind of balance, work-life balance, work-family balance, maybe balances across businesses and activity. The reality of the matter is you will be unbalanced for a short period of time. You need to be unbalanced in order to get balanced. You can't start off your real estate career looking to be balanced in real estate, looking to have, I'm going to do this today and not do this tomorrow. I'm only going to do this during this time today, but not during this time. If you want to make drastic changes over the next 90 days, you could do it, but it takes an intensity, an amount of focus, an amount of response, especially now because the market has changed and the market is continuously changing. So you can't afford to just do the same amount of activity that you've been doing a year ago to think that you're going to get the same type of outcome. Because if you made the same amount of money this year as last year, it means you actually got worse. You actually got worse. You didn't make the same. You actually got a little bit worse because the market saved you by giving you an extra 15%, an extra 20% from doing the same amount of activity. So if you made the same amount of income, you actually got worse in terms of your production. And part of that is making sure that, and you don't have to do this indefinitely. What I like to do is, if I know for the next 90 days, I'm going to, be completely focused into what I'm doing. I have a conversation with my family. Hey, you know what, babe, this next 90 days, I really, really need to accomplish this goal. I really, really need to hit this target and this mark. So I'm going to be a little bit checked out. I might be here, but I'm not fully present. I want to apologize in advance, but you always negotiate and you offer a reward at the end. But at the end of that 90 days, here's what we'll do. We'll take a week off and we'll go somewhere. I'll send you somewhere and I'll watch the kids for 3 to 5 days and you don't have to worry. So, but it's very important that in order to create big mo, which is momentum in your business, so that way you're not constantly hunting and chasing, and you have a little bit of freebies that can land in your lap. You need to have a certain amount of period where you just give it all to real estate, and that period should be 90 days. So when we look at Q3 and I start seeing the numbers come in, I want to know who in the last 90 days, who took this 90-day challenge really seriously. Now it might not show up in 90 days. It might show up in 120 days after, but at least when you start the activity, your confidence is going to be up. You're in the activity. You're in the mood of things, right? You know what's happening. You can answer every question. You don't have to kind of, go online to kind of see what the market is doing in that area. People send me listings all the time, and right away when I look at it, I can almost guess what area it's in and what it should be priced for, because I'm locked in to the activity every single day, and that's where you guys need to be. For you guys to really, really want to, be, cap, because of all the benefits that come along with being a cap agent. Because also the other benefit that we didn't talk about is, once you cap, all your deals are free. So a lot of you guys that have properties, that have investors, that have family and friends that always want to, that you want to kind of give a little bit of a freebie and a bonus to, all you have to do is cap as an agent, and then you can just service those individuals, and you're taking 100% of the commissions, right? So you don't have to come to us at the office and say, hey, can I get a reduction on this person because it's my mom? No, all you have to do is cap as an agent. So you can, if you have personal deals that you want to do, what I personally like to do is cap first and then do all my personal deals after, if the timing makes sense. Because then that way I'm keeping 100% on those deals myself. So that's it, guys. That's it. Next month, we are going to talk about leases and property management. I think it's a cool area, and it's a nice little way to create some passive residual income as well. Property management, when it comes to residential, in the residential space, if you think of real estate as a whole as like body parts, property management is like the armpits. It's the worst. It's the worst part of it. I really hate it, but I do it. But I make sure I get compensated to do it. $150 to $200 a month is my base. What if you had 10 of those that you're doing? You're in $2,500 a month passively. Can that help you with your expenses as you grow your business over the next 90 days and so forth. So I'm gonna show you guys a little bit of what I've done over the last few years in terms of property management, how to grow your property management. Not every property is worth managing as well. Some people I say no, I'd rather just teach them what they need to do rather than me have to take on the responsibility and the headache of taking on this person's property. By the end of next year, I hope at least 15 units under management, which again will just help you guys more so create a different stream, a different revenue stream, a new skill, and it'll allow you to just be a more valuable agent in the marketplace as well. So I'll start working on that early, and we can discuss a little bit about that. I got about 5 minutes for questions, and then I have to run. And also, we can set up one-on-ones for anything that doesn't get covered now. Yes, Fuller.
Form. You said it was what? Family, occupation, and what?
Family, occupation, recreation. The M is motivation or money.
All right, thanks.
So when especially, and that skill is very good when you're meeting people for the first time. If you're door knocking, right? If you're door knocking, and you're thinking of a script to say to people, you don't really have to think of a script. You just got to remember, okay, whoever answers this door, I'm going to ask them a little bit about, hey, how many people live here? Do you own a home? Do your family live here? Do you have kids? What do you guys do for work? Have you guys been in the area for a long time? In Etobicoke, where I am, there's a lot of Eastern Europeans. So hey, I catch an accent. Are you Polish, Ukrainian? Where are you from? In these areas. I see that you have basketball net in the front of your house. Any of your kids into sports? And how long have you guys lived in this area? What do you guys, and from those other questions, you kind of try to probe, and it's kind of like your compass as to how to have a conversation with people that you kind of know or you don't really know. But Form is a great tool for that. Any other questions? No? All right. So we'll see you guys in next month, and keep that 90-day challenge in your mind every single day you wake up. Tasha, you have anything that you want to add?
The only thing I wanted to add was for any of you who said that you were interested in the group benefits program. I had sent out an email requesting information from you. I've only received one back. Thank you, Folu. So if you guys can just get that back to me as soon as possible, they're waiting on that info so they can prepare a quote for us. That's it.
Awesome. Okay, guys. And also we will be having an in-person meeting this month. Also a meet and greet at Conan, 6171 Conan, which is right by the airport. So those details should come out next week. I'm meeting with Isaac tomorrow and Natasha. So we will we'll hold down that time slot and that day. Tentative right now is April 27th. It's not firm, but April 27th, just keep that in the back of your mind, but we'll send out dates and details soon. Oh, since I have everyone on the phone call, sorry, so I have some of you guys here. We're leaning towards the evening for April 27th, just to allow some of the individuals that maybe have full-time jobs and so forth to be able to participate. But I also wanted to ask for next month's meeting. Do you guys want to do it in person or Zoom? Still kind of like I'm comfortable with Zoom. I don't mind Zoom. So maybe we'll open it up to the group chat, and then we will. And then we'll get a survey, but start thinking about that for next month, May, if we want to do the property management training in person, or do we want to do it over Zoom?
We got one yes.
That one yes? Okay. All right. Sounds like we're gonna be leaning towards in person. Okay, so we'll set times and dates for that, and then we'll be able to take it from there.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here.
All right, thanks everyone.
Talk
Have a
soon.
good one.